I still remember the weight of my phone in my pocket that morning. It felt heavier than usual, like it knew what was about to happen. $500,000. That's what I'd spent on my son's wedding. The flowers alone cost more than most people's cars. Crystal chandeliers, a live orchestra, 200 guests in designer everything. Daniel wanted perfection for Amber, and I wanted my son to be happy, even if every instinct in my body was screaming that something was wrong. The bridal suite smelled like gardenias and expensive perfume when I arrived to walk her down the aisle. Amber stood there in her custom Vera Wang gown, $20,000 of silk and lace, looking like every father-in-law's dream. Her makeup artist was packing up. Her bridesmaids had already gone ahead to take their positions. It was just the two of us in that hallway outside the sanctuary, and that's when her face changed. I mean, it literally changed, like watching a mask slip off. The sweet smile vanished, and something cold and calculating took its place. She stepped closer, and I felt her nails, those perfect French-tipped nails, dig into my arm through my tuxedo jacket. "We need to talk, Thomas," she whispered, her voice dropping to something I'd never heard before. "Right now." My heart started pounding, but I kept my face neutral. Years of board meetings and hostile takeovers taught me never to show fear. "The ceremony starts in 5 minutes. Amber," she laughed, this brittle, sharp sound that made my skin crawl. "Oh, this won't take long. You see, I know about Daniel's trust fund. $50 million, unlocked the moment he says, 'I do.' Here's what's going to happen. You're going to transfer $25 million into this account." She shoved her phone in my face, showing me some offshore bank details. "In the next 3 minutes. Or I walk into that church and tell everyone you tried to force yourself on me in this hallway." The world seemed to tilt. 200 people were waiting inside. My company's board members, our family friends, Daniel, standing at that altar in his father's vintage cufflinks, thinking he was about to marry the love of his life. In who are they gonna believe, Thomas? The crying bride, or the lonely widower who's been so desperate for a daughter-in-law? She smiled, and it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. "Make the transfer, now, or I scream." "I need you to understand something about Daniel. After his mother died 3 years ago, he became fragile. Not weak, never weak, but vulnerable in a way that terrified me. Rebecca had been the heart of our family, and when cancer took her, it took something from Daniel too. He'd always been the sensitive one, the kid who cried at animal shelter commercials, who volunteered at soup kitchens every Christmas. My beautiful, trusting boy. And I watched him drift through those first 2 years like a ghost, throwing himself into his work at the company, barely sleeping, barely living. So when he finally smiled again, when Amber walked into his life at that charity gala 18 months ago, I wanted to be happy. God, I wanted to be happy for him. She was perfect on paper. 28 years old, Stanford educated, running this glossy Instagram account called Giving Back with Amber, where she posed at homeless shelters and animal rescues. 50,000 followers hanging on her every inspirational quote. Daniel met her when she approached him about a partnership with our company's foundation. "She's amazing, Dad," he told me that first night, his eyes brighter than I'd seen them since the funeral. "She wants to change the world." Within 3 months, they were inseparable. Within 6, he proposed, and I tried to be supportive. I smiled at dinners. I welcomed her into our home. But something felt off, like a note played wrong in a symphony. The way she'd steered Daniel away from his college friends. How she'd suddenly have a headache whenever we planned family time. Those little comments she'd make. "Thomas, you're so controlling. Let Daniel make his own choices." Subtle. Poisonous. Then I started noticing other things. Her charity's website looked professional. But when I casually asked my CFO to look into their tax filings, he came back empty-handed. No 501c3 status, No financial records. Just a pretty Instagram feed and a lot of promises. She asked too many questions about Daniel's trust fund, when it would unlock, what the exact amount was, whether there were any loopholes. At family dinners, she'd bring up estate planning like she was making casual conversation, but her eyes would sharpen when I talked about asset protection. And the way she touched her phone constantly, always angled away, always protective. I'm a tech CEO. I know what hiding something looks like. So I started watching. Really watching. And what I saw made my blood run cold. Because I'd seen predators before in boardrooms, in business deals. But I'd never seen one hunting my son. I made the call on a Tuesday morning, 3 months before the wedding. Marcus Chen, former FBI Cybercrimes Division, now running the most discreet private investigation firm in Silicon Valley. We'd worked together years ago when my company dealt with corporate espionage. I need everything, I told him in his downtown office, sliding him a folder with Amber's photo and details. Every digital footprint, every past address, every name she's ever used. And Marcus, nobody can know, especially not my son. He looked at me with those sharp eyes that had put away dozens of white-collar criminals. You think she's running a con? I thought about Daniel's face when he talked about her, so full of hope. I think I need to be sure she's not. The first report came back 2 weeks later, and I had to read it twice because I couldn't believe it. Amber Mitchell wasn't Amber Mitchell. That name was only 3 years old, right before she met Daniel. Before that, she was Jessica Torres in Miami. Before that, Amanda Wilson in Boston. Before that, Jennifer Hayes in Chicago. 3 names, 3 lives, 3 wealthy men who'd been destroyed. Marcus laid out the police reports across his desk like he was dealing cards. Look at the pattern. Chicago, 2017. Jennifer Hayes dates Marcus Rothman, hedge fund manager. 6 months in, she claims assault. He settles for $2 million to avoid trial and career destruction. Case quietly dropped after the check clears. My hands started shaking. Boston, 2019. Amanda Wilson gets engaged to David Chen, no relation to me, tech startup founder. Right before the wedding, she accuses him of threatening her. He pays $1.5 million. Company goes under from the scandal. She disappears. Marcus pulled up the last file. Miami, 2021. Jessica Torres is seeing Robert Delgado, real estate developer. She says he drugged her at a party. $3 million settlement. His wife divorces him. His business partners abandon him. And 6 months later, Jessica Torres ceases to exist. Amber Mitchell gets a new passport, new social security number, all legal, all perfectly done, and moves to San Francisco. The room felt like it was spinning. She's done this before, multiple times, Marcus nodded slowly. She's evolved too. The earlier cons were rougher, more obvious, but by Miami, she'd perfected it. Now, she's going for the ultimate score. Marriage. No messy accusations needed if she can just get half of everything in a divorce. Or... He paused, and I knew what he was thinking. Or extort the family before the marriage even happens. Get the money without the legal paperwork. I stared at the photos of her previous victims, broken men, ruined reputations, lives demolished by a woman who'd weaponized the one thing no man could defend against, a crying victim. She's using real pain, real movements, real victims, suffering as a tool, I said quietly. She's a predator wearing a survivor's face. Marcus closed the folder. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because if you just show Daniel this evidence, she'll twist it. She'll say you fabricated it because you're a controlling father who can't let go. She'll make him choose Thomas, and right now, he'll choose her. He was right. I needed more than proof of her past. I needed proof of her present plan. I needed to catch her in the act. And I needed Daniel to see it with his own eyes, hear it with his own ears. No room for doubt, no room for manipulation. Just the cold, hard truth of who she really was. I brought it up at dinner, 2 months before the wedding. Just the three of us at Daniel's penthouse, the one I'd bought him when he graduated from Berkeley. Amber had cooked, which should have been my first warning. She never cooked. So, I said, cutting into my steak, keeping my voice casual, I met with the attorneys today. They're drafting the prenuptial agreement. Standard stuff. Protects both of you in case anything unexpected happens. The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. Amber's fork stopped halfway to her mouth, and I watched her face do that thing where she calculated her next move. But Daniel spoke first. Dad, we talked about this. We don't need a prenup. His voice was tight, defensive. Son, it's not about need. It's about being smart. Your mother and I had one. It's just good practice when significant assets are involved. Amber interrupted. And oh, there were tears now. Actual tears pooling in her perfectly lined eyes. Is that what I am to you, Thomas? A threat to your assets? She pushed back from the table, and Daniel immediately went to her side. I watched her lean into him, her shoulders shaking with sobs that seemed just a little too perfectly timed. I've given your son everything. My heart, my time, my whole life. I gave up my career to support his work, to build our future together. And you think I'm some gold digger. Amber, that's not what I... Daniel cut me off. No, Dad, let her finish. His arm was around her now, protective, and I could see I was losing him. If you sign that paper, she whispered to Daniel, her voice breaking, it means you don't trust me. It means you think our marriage has an expiration date. It means his paranoia is more important than our love. She turned those wet eyes on me. Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you except love your son? Daniel looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Suspicion. Of me. Dad, I think you should go. The words hit like a physical blow. Daniel, please, just listen. No, you listen. Mom's been gone 3 years, and you've been alone, and I get that you're scared of losing me too. But Amber's not taking me away from you. She's not Mom's replacement. She's my future. And if you can't accept that... He took a breath, and I knew what was coming. Could feel it like a tsunami about to hit. If you can't accept that, then maybe you shouldn't come to the wedding. The room went silent, except for Amber's soft crying. But I caught it. Just for a second, the tiniest flicker of a smile at the corner of her mouth before she buried her face in Daniel's shoulder. She'd won this round, and she knew it. I stood up slowly, my legs feeling like lead. You're right. I'm sorry. I'll tell the attorneys to drop it. Daniel's face softened slightly. Really? Really? No prenup? I just want you to be happy, son. I kissed his forehead like I used to when he was little, and walked out of that penthouse feeling like I'd just lost my only child. But here's what Amber didn't know. I wasn't giving up. I was changing tactics, because Marcus was right. Showing Daniel evidence would make him defensive. She'd already poisoned that well, turned my protection into control, my love into manipulation. No, I needed something else, something undeniable, something that would shatter her mask so completely that even Daniel couldn't look away. I needed her to confess, on camera, in her own words, and I had exactly 2 months to make it happen. I didn't sleep much those last 2 months. Every night I'd lie awake in the house that felt too empty without Rebecca, thinking about all the ways this could go wrong. But I also thought about all the ways Amber could destroy Daniel if I did nothing. Marcus came back with more intel. She'd been moving money, small amounts, testing offshore accounts. She'd Googled trust fund early release loopholes 47 times. She'd contacted a lawyer in the Cayman Islands. She was preparing for something big. And I knew in my gut it would happen at the wedding. It made perfect sense, really. Once those vows were said, Daniel's trust fund would unlock automatically. It was written into Rebecca's will that way, a gift for our son's marriage. But a divorce would take time, legal battles, and she'd be exposed. No, she'd want the money before the ceremony, with the threat of destroying the wedding as leverage. I called Marcus again. I need surveillance equipment, professional grade, something that can record crystal clear audio in a crowded venue. He didn't ask questions, just nodded. 2 days later, I had a briefcase full of technology that would make the NSA jealous. Tiny microphones no bigger than a pin, digital recorders that uploaded to the cloud in real time, a custom app on my phone that could trigger recording from anywhere in the venue. The key, Marcus explained, is redundancy. Multiple mics, multiple recordings, multiple backups. You want this airtight, Thomas. No room for her to claim it's fake or edited. We went to the venue 3 nights before the wedding, after the staff had left. The Grand Basilica, a historic church that cost me $20,000 just to rent for the day. I placed microphones in the hallway leading to the sanctuary, in the bridal suite, even in the alcoves where the bridal party would wait. Each one synced to my phone, each one recording constantly, backed up to a secure server that even I couldn't delete from. If she makes her move, I told Marcus, I'll have every word. But I needed one more thing. Insurance, that this wouldn't just be evidence I'd have to fight about in court later. I needed witnesses, real-time accountability. So I made a call I never thought I'd make. Robert, it's Thomas Reed. I need a favor. Captain Robert Morrison, San Francisco PD, an old friend from my college days who'd gone into law enforcement while I went into tech. I'd donated to the Police Benevolent Fund for years, helped with community programs, but this was different. I have reason to believe an extortion attempt will occur at my son's wedding this Saturday. I'll have audio evidence, but I need officers on standby, discreetly positioned, ready to act if it goes down. There was a long pause. Thomas, if you're wrong about this, I'm not wrong. I have documentation of her previous victims, her pattern of behavior, evidence of preparation for financial crimes. But I can't move until she makes the attempt, or she'll just disappear and find another target. Robert, please. My son's life is on the line. He sighed. I'll have 2 plainclothes officers at the venue. They'll be positioned as guests in the back. But Thomas? The evidence better be solid, because if this goes sideways, it's both our careers. The morning of the wedding, I woke up at 4 a.m., my heart racing. I checked my phone. All microphones were live, all systems recording. I put on my tuxedo with shaking hands. Rebecca's wedding band still on my finger even after 3 years. Help me get this right, I whispered to her photo on my nightstand. Help me save our boy. The venue was chaos when I arrived, florists everywhere, the catering staff setting up, bridesmaids shrieking with excitement. I saw Daniel in the groom's suite, looking nervous and happy and so heartbreakingly young. 28 years old, the same age I was when I married his mother. Hey, Dad. He smiled, and some of the tension from the prenup fight seemed to have faded. Thanks for being here. I know we had our disagreements, but it means everything that you're walking Amber down the aisle. I hugged him, maybe held on a little too long. I love you, son. No matter what happens today, remember that. He laughed. You're getting sentimental on me, old man. If he only knew. I made my way to the bridal suite an hour before the ceremony. Amber was surrounded by her bridesmaids, women I'd never met before, probably wouldn't see again after today, but when she saw me, she dismissed them with a wave. Give us a minute, girls. They filtered out, giggling and gossiping, and then it was just us. She looked stunning. I'll give her that. The dress, the hair, the makeup, every inch the blushing bride. But I could see something else now, something I'd missed before. The way her eyes kept darting to her phone, the way her jaw was clenched just slightly under that perfect smile, the way her hands trembled when she thought I wasn't looking. She was nervous. She was preparing. And my phone in my pocket was recording every breath. Ready? I asked, offering my arm. She took it, her nails digging in just a little too hard. More than you know, Thomas, she said softly. More than you know! and we started walking toward the sanctuary, toward 200 waiting guests, toward Daniel standing at that altar in his father's cufflinks, toward the moment that would change everything. The hallway was longer than I remembered. Thick carpet muffled our footsteps, and through the closed sanctuary doors, I could hear the string quartet playing something soft and romantic. My son was on the other side of those doors, waiting, trusting. 200 guests had their programs open, their phones ready for photos. The air smelled like lilies and roses, Rebecca's favorite flowers. I'd made sure of that. And Amber's nails were digging deeper into my arm with every step, like talons finding purchase. We were alone now, just the two of us in this stretch of hallway before the final turn into the sanctuary. The bridesmaids had already gone ahead. The ushers were at their positions. Even the wedding coordinator had stepped away to cue the music change. It was perfect timing. She knew it. I knew it. "Stop," she hissed, and I did. We were maybe 30 feet from the doors now, in this little alcove with a window overlooking the garden. Out of sight from everyone. Strategic. She'd probably planned this exact spot. "We need to have our little chat now, Thomas. Before I walk through those doors and become your daughter-in-law." Her voice had changed completely. No more sweet bride. No more innocent girl. This was ice. This was the voice of someone who'd done this before, who knew exactly how much power she held. She pulled out her phone with one hand, the other still gripping my arm, nails breaking skin through the fabric now. "See this account number? Cayman Islands. Untraceable. You're going to wire $25 million into it in the next 2 minutes." My mouth went dry, but I forced myself to stay calm. Keep her talking. Get every detail on record. 25 million. That's half of Daniel's trust. She smiled, and it was worse than anything I'd imagined. Pure contempt. "Oh, I know exactly what it is. I've known since month 2. The trust unlocks when he says, 'I do.' Stupid loophole your dead wife left, by the way. Very romantic. Very naive." She leaned closer, and I could smell her perfume. Sickly sweet. "But here's the thing, Thomas. I don't want to wait for a divorce. I don't want to play the long game. I want my money now, and you're going to give it to me. Or I walk through those doors and tell everyone that you cornered me in this hallway and tried to force yourself on me." The words hung in the air like poison. "You think they won't believe me?" The crying bride, dress torn. She grabbed her neckline like she was preparing to rip it. Makeup running, screaming about the sick old widower who couldn't control himself. Her laugh was sharp, vicious. "I've done this 3 times, Thomas. 3 men before Daniel. And you know what? Every single one of them paid. Every single one of them lost everything trying to fight me. Because society wants to believe women, and I use that. I weaponize it. It's actually beautiful how easy it is." My heart was hammering, but my hand was steady as I pulled out my phone. She thought I was opening my banking app. She thought she'd won. "So it's 25 million, I said slowly, "or you make a false accusation of sexual assault." Sexual assault, attempted rape, whatever plays better, I'll decide in the moment. But yes, that's exactly right, old man. "Pay up or watch your son's wedding become your public execution." She checked her watch. "You have 90 seconds. I suggest you start typing." I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not fear, certainty. "Tell me something, Amber, or Jessica, or Amanda, or Jennifer. What made you think you could do this to my son? What made you think I wouldn't find out?" Her face went white. Just for a second, the mask cracked, and I saw panic flash through her eyes. But she recovered fast. I'll give her that. "I don't know what you're talking about. Those are just crazy conspiracy theories from a paranoid." Chicago, 2017, Marcus Rothman, $2 million. Boston, 2019, David Chen, 1.5 million. Miami, 2021, Robert Delgado, 3 million. Her hand dropped from my arm. You think I didn't do my homework? You think I'd let someone walk into my son's life and not investigate every single thing about them? She stepped back, her face twisting into something ugly. It doesn't matter what you think you know. You have no proof. And if you try to stop this wedding, I'll destroy Daniel anyway. I'll say he knew. I'll say he helped me. I'll burn his reputation to the ground along with yours. She was panicking now, improvising, her voice getting shrill. I make the transfer, Thomas, or what? I interrupted, my voice calm, too calm. Or you'll scream. Go ahead, Amber, scream. Tell everyone I tried to assault you. Please, I'm actually begging you to do it. She blinked, confused. This wasn't how her script was supposed to go. The men were supposed to cave, to panic, to pay. What are you? I held up my phone, and I smiled. Not a kind smile. You see this? Every word you just said was recorded. Crystal clear, backed up to the cloud, already in the hands of my attorneys and the police. The account number, the amount, the threat, the false accusation you were planning, and best of all, your little confession about your previous victims. Her face went slack, disbelief and horror mixing into something almost comical. You recorded me. That's illegal. California's a two-party consent state, true, but extortion nullifies that protection. You just committed multiple felonies on tape. Amber. Or should I say, Jessica. I'm actually not sure which name you'll be booked under. She lurched forward, trying to grab my phone, but I stepped back. Don't worry, you'll get to hear it. Everyone will. Daniel, the guests, the police, everyone. Her breathing was rapid now, panicked. She looked at the sanctuary doors, then back at me, calculating. Run, attack, cry. But I could see it in her eyes. She knew. She finally knew she'd miscalculated. She'd underestimated the love of a father who'd already lost too much to lose his son too. So here's what's going to happen, I said softly, offering my arm again. We're going to walk through those doors, and everyone's going to hear exactly who you are. The question is, do you want to walk, or do you want to be dragged? She stared at me, and for a long moment, I thought she might actually run. But then something shifted. Pride, maybe, or the gambler's instinct to play the hand even when you know you've lost. She took my arm, her grip weak now, trembling. You don't know what you've done, she whispered. I do, I said. I saved my son. And we walked toward those sanctuary doors, toward the music swelling, toward the moment when everything would shatter. The doors opened, and the sound hit us like a wave. The string quartet shifted into the processional, and 200 people rose to their feet. I saw faces I'd known for decades, business partners, family friends, Rebecca's sister crying happy tears in the third row. Everyone turned to look at the bride, their phones up, ready to capture this perfect moment. The sanctuary was stunning, those crystal chandeliers catching the afternoon light, white roses everywhere, the stained glass windows casting colored shadows across the aisle. Daniel stood at the altar in his tuxedo, his best man beside him, and the look on his face when he saw Amber. God, it broke my heart. Pure joy, pure love. He had no idea what was about to happen. I felt Amber stiffen beside me as we started down the aisle. She was trying to smile, trying to play the radiant bride, but I could feel her shaking. We walked slowly, I made sure of that, past row after row of guests, cameras flashing, people dabbing at their eyes with tissues. The minister stood ready at the altar, his Bible open, probably preparing to talk about love and commitment and forever. What a joke. We were almost to the front when I made my move. Instead of delivering Amber to Daniel's side like I was supposed to, I turned sharply and walked up to where the DJ booth was set up. a professional setup for the reception that would never happen. Massive speakers, mixing board, the works. The music kept playing, but I saw confusion ripple through the crowd. This wasn't part of the program. "Excuse me," I said to the DJ, a kid maybe 25 who looked terrified as this father of the groom interrupted the ceremony. "I need to use your system for just a moment. Sir, I don't think—" I pulled $500 bills from my jacket pocket. "Please." He looked at the money, looked at my face, and stepped aside. I connected my phone to his Bluetooth system with hands that were steadier than they'd been all day. Behind me, I heard Daniel's voice. "Dad, what are you doing?" I turned to face the crowd, and the music had stopped now. Everyone was staring. Amber stood frozen halfway down the aisle, her bouquet clutched so tight the stems were probably breaking. The minister looked confused. The bridesmaids were whispering. Daniel was walking toward me, concern on his face. "I'm sorry, son," I said into the DJ's microphone, my voice echoing through the sanctuary. "I'm so sorry. But before we go any further, there's something everyone needs to hear." I pressed play. For a moment, there was nothing but static, and I saw Amber's face transform. Hope, maybe, that the recording had failed. But then her voice filled the sanctuary, crystal clear, intimate, damning. "You're going to wire $25 million into it in the next 2 minutes." My voice followed. 25 million. That's half of Daniel's trust. And then hers again, cold and calculating. "Oh, I know exactly what it is. I've known since month 2. The trust unlocks when he says, 'I do.' Stupid loophole your dead wife left, by the way. Very romantic, very naive." The gasps started then, rippling through the crowd like someone had dropped a stone in still water. I watched Daniel's face as he listened, the color draining, his mouth falling open. The recording kept playing, and it was worse than I'd imagined. Hearing it through these massive speakers, hearing the contempt in her voice, the casual cruelty. "I don't want to wait for a divorce. I don't want to play the long game. I want my money now, and you're going to give it to me, or I walk through those doors and tell everyone that you cornered me in this hallway and tried to force yourself on me." Someone in the crowd screamed. I think it was Rebecca's sister. The recording continued, relentless. "I've done this 3 times, Thomas. 3 men before Daniel. And you know what? Every single one of them paid. Every single one of them lost everything trying to fight me." Amber was running now, not toward the exit, but toward me, her dress gathered in her fists, her face twisted with rage. "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But I didn't. I let it play. The confession about Chicago, about Boston, about Miami. Her laugh when she talked about weaponizing accusations. Every vicious word she'd said in that hallway, thinking she'd won, thinking she was untouchable. Daniel had stopped walking. He just stood there in the middle of the aisle, swaying slightly, like someone had physically struck him. "Daniel, baby, please." Amber reached for him, but he jerked away from her touch like she'd burned him. Don't you dare touch me," his voice cracked. 3 men. You did this before. 3 times. The recording was still playing. We were at the part where she threatened to destroy Daniel's reputation too. I watched my son listen to the woman he loved explain, in clinical detail, how she'd planned to ruin his life, how she'd called his mother naive, how she'd called him a stupid loophole. When it finally ended, the silence in the sanctuary was absolute. 200 people, and you could have heard a pin drop. Amber stood there in her $20,000 dress, mascara starting to run, looking at the crowd like a trapped animal. And then she did exactly what I expected. She went for the performance. "This is fake!" she screamed, turning to face the guests. "It's AI! Thomas hired someone to fake my voice because he's been trying to break us up from the beginning. Daniel, you know me. You know I would never—" But Daniel was backing away from her, his hands up like he was trying to ward off something evil. "I heard your voice. Amber, I know your voice. She spun toward me, desperate now. You're a monster. You hired. That's when I played the second recording, the one I'd saved for this exact moment. The second recording was shorter, just 15 seconds, but it was the kill shot. Amber's voice again, from a conversation she'd had with one of her bridesmaids in the bridal suite an hour before the ceremony. A woman named Chelsea, who I'd later learn was actually her partner in previous cons. You really think the old man's gonna pay? Chelsea's voice asked. He'll pay, Amber laughed. They always do, and if he doesn't, I'll make Daniel watch while I destroy his daddy's reputation. Either way, I'm walking out of here 25 million richer. The click of champagne glasses. To stupid rich boys and the idiots who raised them. More laughter, then silence. This time, Amber didn't try to claim it was fake. She just stood there, the fight draining out of her like someone had pulled a plug. Her shoulders slumped. Her bouquet fell to the floor, white roses scattering across the carpet. And then she did something that chilled me more than anything else that day. She smiled. Not the fake sweet smile, or the calculated seductress smile. A real smile. Bitter and tired, and almost relieved. You think you've won, she said quietly, looking straight at me. You think you're the hero here. But you have no idea what I've been through, what I've had to do to survive in a world designed to crush women like me. She turned to Daniel, and her voice got louder. You were so easy, Danny, so desperate to fill the hole your mommy left. I could have asked for anything, and you would have given it to me. That's not love. That's pathetic. Daniel made a sound like he'd been punched. I moved toward him, but he held up a hand. How long? His voice was barely a whisper. How long were you planning this? She laughed, that same brittle sound from the hallway. From the moment I Googled your name and saw trust fund air, from the second I manufactured that meeting at the charity gala, I researched you for 3 months before I ever said hello. Your favorite food, your trauma, your weaknesses, every coincidence we shared. I planted them, every special moment. Scripted. She looked around at the horrified guests. You people have no idea how easy you are to manipulate. Flash some tears. Quote some inspirational bullshit on Instagram. Show up at a soup kitchen with perfect lighting. Boom. Instant credibility. Instant access to your stupid, trusting sons. That's when I saw them. Captain Morrison and Detective Sarah Chen, moving through the crowd in their formal attire that I now realized was too plain to be real guest clothing. They'd been positioned in the back, just like Robert promised, waiting for this exact moment. Amber saw them too. I watched her eyes track their movement, watched the calculation happen. She bolted. The dress made it awkward. She grabbed the skirt with both hands and ran toward the side exit, the one that led to the garden. But she was wearing heels, and that gown was heavy, and she made it maybe 20 feet before Detective Chen caught her arm. Jessica Torres, also known as Amanda Wilson, also known as Jennifer Hayes, also known as Amber Mitchell, you're under arrest for attempted extortion, fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The detective's voice was flat, professional, as she pulled out handcuffs. Get your hands off me, Amber thrashed, trying to pull away. I haven't done anything. This is entrapment. This is... You have the right to remain silent, Detective Chen continued, unbothered by the struggling. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Captain Morrison moved in to help, and together they secured her wrists behind her back. The sound of the handcuffs clicking shut echoed through the silent sanctuary. Someone was crying. Multiple people, actually. Rebecca's sister was sobbing openly now. Several guests were on their phones, probably calling lawyers or posting to social media. This would be everywhere by tomorrow. The wedding that became an arrest, the perfect bride who was a serial con artist. I could already see the headlines. My phone, Amber suddenly screamed. I need my phone. You can't just take my... But Detective Chen was already pulling it from the small clutch Amber had hidden in her bouquet. She held it up. the screen still glowing. Still logged into the Cayman Islands account, I see. Account number matches the one from the recording. She looked at Captain Morrison. That's going to make the prosecution's job easy. Amber's face went from red to white. That's private property. You can't. We have a warrant, Captain Morrison said, pulling a folded document from his jacket. Signed this morning by Judge Patterson. We've been monitoring your communications for the past week, Ms. Torres. Or do you prefer Ms. Mitchell? The offshore accounts, the burner phones you used to contact your previous victims, the fake charity you've been using to launder money? It's all in the warrant. I hadn't known about the burner phones. I hadn't known about the money laundering. My investigation had stopped at her previous identities and the pattern of extortion, but Robert's people had kept digging, and apparently, Amber's crimes went deeper than even I'd imagined. She seemed to deflate then, all the fight going out of her. I want a lawyer. Smart choice, Detective Chen said. They started walking her toward the exit, and this is where it got surreal. They had to march her back down the aisle, the same aisle she'd just walked up as a blushing bride, past the same 200 guests who'd stood to honor her 5 minutes ago, past the white roses and the crystal chandeliers and the stained glass windows. Her $20,000 dress dragging on the carpet, her hands cuffed behind her back, her makeup running now, for real this time, black mascara tears staining her cheeks. Some people turned away, some stared. A few actually pulled out their phones and took pictures, which felt grotesque but also somehow perfect. This was the Instagram moment Amber had planned for, just not the one she'd scripted. As they passed Daniel, she stopped. The detectives let her, maybe out of some sense of drama, maybe just curious what she'd say. I did love you, she said softly, looking up at my son with those ruined mascara eyes. Maybe not at first. Maybe not the way you wanted. But somewhere along the way, I think I actually did. Daniel stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language. You loved my money. You loved what I could give you. You never loved me. She opened her mouth like she was going to argue, but what could she say? The recording had been clear. The evidence was overwhelming. So she just closed her mouth and let the detectives lead her away. The heavy wooden doors of the sanctuary closed behind them with a boom that sounded like a coffin lid slamming shut. And then it was just us. 200 people in formal wear, an empty altar, scattered roses, and the wreckage of what was supposed to be the happiest day of my son's life. The sanctuary cleared slowly. People didn't know what to say. Some offered condolences like someone had died. Others just squeezed my shoulder or nodded and left in silence. Rebecca's sister hugged Daniel for what felt like 10 minutes, whispering things I couldn't hear while he stood there rigid and unresponsive. The catering staff started dismantling the reception setup in the adjacent hall. $500,000 of wedding, gone in less than an hour. The minister approached me quietly. Thomas, I'm so sorry. In 30 years of performing ceremonies, I've never... It's okay, Father Matthews. Thank you for being here. He left, and then it was just Daniel and me in that enormous sanctuary with its soaring ceilings and empty pews. My son stood at the altar, still wearing his tuxedo, staring at the spot where Amber had been arrested. He hadn't moved in maybe 20 minutes, just stood there like a statue, his hands in his pockets, his face completely blank. I walked up slowly, afraid that any sudden movement might shatter him. Daniel. Nothing. Son, we should go home. Let me take you. You knew. His voice was flat, emotionless. You knew for how long? Months. And you let me keep planning this wedding, keep thinking I was in love, keep making a fool of myself. I felt my throat tighten. I needed proof, real proof. If I'd just told you about her past, she would have convinced you I was lying. You know she would have. He finally turned to look at me, and the pain in his eyes was worse than any anger. You should have told me anyway. You should have trusted me to make my own decision. Would you have believed me? I asked gently. 2 months ago, when you told me I couldn't come to the wedding if I didn't drop the prenup, would you have believed me if I'd shown you evidence that Amber was a con artist? He opened his mouth, closed it. We both knew the answer. She was so perfect, he whispered. Everything about her. The way she laughed at my jokes. The way she understood about Mom. The way she... God, Dad, she made me feel alive again after 2 years of feeling dead inside. His voice cracked. And it was all a script, all of it. She researched my trauma like she was studying for a test. I reached for him, but he stepped back. Don't. I need a minute. He walked to one of the pews and sat down heavily, his head in his hands. I sat beside him, giving him space but staying close. For a long time, neither of us spoke. I really thought she was the one, Daniel said finally. I thought Mom sent her to me. How stupid is that? It's not stupid. It's human. You wanted to be happy. There's nothing wrong with that. He laughed, but it was bitter. There's everything wrong with it. I ignored every warning sign. The way she isolated me from my friends. I told myself she just wanted us to have couple time. The way she asked about money constantly. I told myself she was just being practical. The way you clearly didn't trust her. I told myself you were being overprotective. He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. You were right about everything, and I called you controlling. I almost kicked you out of my life for a woman who was planning to extort you in a church hallway. The guilt in his voice was crushing. She was a professional, Daniel. She'd done this before. You're not the first successful man she manipulated, and if I hadn't stopped her, you wouldn't have been the last. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? He stood up abruptly, pacing. I'm 28 years old, Dad. I run a division of your company. I have an MBA from Berkeley, and I got played like a 16-year-old with his first girlfriend. His voice was rising now, anger finally breaking through the shock. She called Mom naive. She called me a stupid loophole. She was going to take half my trust fund and disappear, and I was going to hand it to her with a smile because she batted her eyes and said she loved me. He punched the back of the pew, and I heard his knuckles crack. Daniel, how do I trust anyone again? He turned to face me, and now he was crying. How do I look at any woman and not wonder if she's researched my trauma? If she's scripted our connection? If she's counting my money while she's pretending to count our future? I stood and pulled him into a hug, and this time, he didn't resist. He collapsed against me like he used to when he was little and had a nightmare, his whole body shaking with sobs. You have a good heart, I said into his hair. That's not a weakness, son. That's not something you need to change or protect. What you need is better judgment, yes. You need to take things slower, watch for red flags, listen to people who love you. But you don't need to become cynical. You don't need to become like her, calculating and cold and always looking for the angle. He pulled back, wiping his eyes. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. I'm sorry I almost chose her over you. You don't need to apologize. You loved her, or you loved who she pretended to be. That's not a crime. That's just heartbreak. I touched his face the way I used to when he was small. And we'll get through this, together. Just like we got through losing your mom. Just like we've gotten through everything. He nodded slowly. What happens to her now? Captain Morrison said she's looking at 15 to 20 years, maybe more, depending on what else they find. The previous victims are already coming forward. The publicity from today's arrest is bringing them out. Men who were too ashamed to speak up before now have a case they can point to, proof they're not alone. I thought about those men, destroyed by false accusations, and felt a grim satisfaction. She weaponized real pain, Daniel. She used real victims, suffering as cover for her crimes. The courts aren't going to be kind. Good, Daniel said quietly. Then, more firmly, good. She deserves it. We stood there for a moment longer. father and son in an empty church that smelled like roses and broken dreams. "Let's go home," I said finally. "We'll order Thai food, put on a terrible movie, and not talk about weddings or trust funds or con artists for at least 24 hours. He almost smiled. "That sounds perfect, Dad. That sounds really perfect." The trial lasted 6 weeks. I attended every day, sitting in the gallery with Daniel beside me, watching as the prosecution methodically dismantled every lie Amber, or Jessica, as the court called her, had ever told. They brought in forensic accountants who traced her offshore accounts back through a decade of cons. They brought in digital forensics experts who recovered deleted emails and text messages showing how she'd researched her victims, planned her approaches, celebrated her scores. And they brought in her previous victims. Marcus Rothman took the stand and described how Jessica's false accusations had cost him his career, his marriage, and nearly his life. He'd attempted suicide 6 months after paying her off. David Chen talked about the startup he'd built from nothing, how it collapsed when investors fled after the scandal. Robert Delgado, the Miami real estate developer, broke down crying when he described losing custody of his children because his ex-wife believed Jessica's lies. Watching those men testify, seeing their pain, I realized how close Daniel had come to being number 4. How close I'd come to losing my son, not to death, but to something worse, to bankruptcy, scandal, and a ruined reputation he'd never recover from. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. 16 felonies including extortion, fraud, identity theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy. When the judge read the sentence, 22 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole for at least 15, I watched Jessica's face. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She just stared straight ahead with those cold eyes that had once pretended to love my son. And I wondered if she felt anything at all. Probably just anger that she'd finally gotten caught. As the bailiffs led her away in her orange jumpsuit, so different from that $20,000 wedding dress, Daniel reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you," he whispered. "You saved my life, Dad." And maybe I did. But really, I just did what any father would do. I protected my child, even when he didn't want to be protected, even when it cost me his trust for a while. Because that's what love is. Not the scripted, researched, calculated performance Jessica gave, but the messy, difficult, imperfect choice to put someone else's safety above everything, above pride, above being right, above being liked. Daniel's doing better now. It took time, therapy, a lot of late-night conversations, some hard work rebuilding his ability to trust. But 6 months after the trial, I watched him laugh at dinner with his old college friends, the ones Amber had isolated him from. Real laughter, not the careful, monitored kind he'd had with her. He's dating again, slowly, carefully. He asks questions now. He watches for red flags, but he hasn't let what happened turn him bitter or cold, and I'm so proud of him for that. As for me, I still sleep with Rebecca's photo on my nightstand. I still run the company, still donate to charity, still show up for Daniel whenever he needs me. But now I also volunteer with an organization that helps victims of romance scams and extortion, men and women who got caught in the web of predators like Jessica. Because there are more of them out there, more Ambers, more scripts, more calculated cruelty disguised as love. And if I can help even one person see the warning signs before it's too late, if I can help even one family avoid the nightmare we went through, well, then maybe something good came from that disaster of a wedding day. But you know what's worse than being betrayed at your own wedding? Being betrayed at your own anniversary, at the $50 million vineyard you built. Picture this. Your husband's giving your business to his mistress on Instagram Live. They throw wine on you and kick you out in the rain. But they forgot one thing. You control every account, and you've got your tablet in the car. Want to see what happens when a cheater's credit card gets declined in front of 200 people watching online? Trust me, you need to see his face.